Do I think they're going to increase taxes dramatically? Probably not. But do I think they're going to fiddle with taxes like they did with stage 3? Yes, no question to me. But Christy, also, it's the method at which they have come up with the excuse to be able to do it and make it seem like we had no idea, and then all these smart people came into the room, and then all these great ideas were on butcher's paper, and we never thought about negative gearing, but that lady who gave that presentation on day 2 was so convincing.
It's true, isn't it? It's amazing how people can get a hearing from the government when they want one. It's incredible, because I walk the halls of Canberra and I tell you, ministers are pretty hard to see. So suddenly the doors are open. Now, the government has asked the CEO of the Grattan Institute, who of course has been in favour of negative gearing and rechanging our tax system. It's really, really interesting. They've chosen her to give the keynote. Look, this is the one thing the government refuses to do about productivity is our industrial relations sector.
Correct.
Now, the reason why people can't have houses is because they can't get built, is because the CFMEU won't let you build them. The infrastructure is over budget and over...
And they bring too many people in.
And over time, because the CFMEU won't let it get done. But it's sort of hands-off productivity if it's to do with industrial relations. We'll make it about tax. We'll make it about superannuation. It is an absolute stalking horse just to do nothing on what will actually reform productivity in this country.
Well, Joe, of course, one of the absolute reasons why we had to have Mediscare for so many months was because they were able to go and Frankenstein comments from Peter Dutton back when he was the health minister. Well, I can play the same game, which is, here's Jim Chalmers in 2019. Do you think this is what he still thinks about negative gearing? Because this is what I think he still thinks is about negative gearing changes.
Any housing policy that doesn't deal with negative gearing and capital gains tax is a sham. Housing affordability, which doesn't make important and considered changes to capital gains and negative gearing, has a hole in the middle of it. If you want to deal with housing affordability, you need to start with negative gearing and capital gains.
But that was then, Joe.
Yes, that's right.
All of that goes into the bin, unless it's a Lib, of course, and then bang, right on the middle of the table for an election campaign.
Yeah, well, there's a whole bunch going on. Obviously, Labor Party lost that election, and they lost it because of the negative gearing policy they took to it. And
so this is the way to get it done.
There's one thing that, no, they
this is the way to backdoor
They realised it was toxic. And if you ask anyone, if you talk to any, and I do and have, if you talk to anyone, this is why the think tanks do it. If you were designing a housing policy from scratch, of course you wouldn't have negative. This is not what negative gearing was intended to be for. It wasn't intended to be for mortgages. It was intended to be for loans that people would take out to invest in the share market. And then, some fancy accountant said, oh, you know what else could count as an investment?
Yeah.
This house over here.
Yeah.
And so suddenly it was used, it became a sort of Frankenstein monster, right? So
I've seen the docker, yes.
so whatever.
That's our
But
biggest
having said
asset
that,
class.
that's right. But having said that, it is now baked into the Australian dream. It is baked into Australian aspiration.
So I'm cool with one. And I think the majority, someone had the balls to say, you know what, we are going to have that conversation.
But I don't think they are now, because they realise that you play with it at your peril, and it is so very, very easy. I mean, Shorten's
What are
policy.
you willing to bet? I'm willing to bet big here.
I don't think they will. I think they're
You don't
too
think in
strict.
this
And the
terms-
only reason I know they were absolutely terrified to change the previous tax policy, and
But
the
they
only
don't care.
reason.
That was when they had to squeak through in 22, and then they absolutely blasted it home in 25. They look at a backbench to burn on a big idea. They've got 94 seats. They've got every institution in the country saying do it. They'll have a media that'll clap them in exactly like with stage 3. That's why they think the politics has changed.
Yeah, but except the nature of the housing crisis has changed as well. We now want
bringing more people in.
We now need more rental properties, and that means we need more incentives to invest in
right? And people,
investment
and
properties.
the other thing that goes with this is changing the superannuation. I work in financial services. I've spoken to just about every wealth manager in Sydney who says anybody with money is taking it out of self-managed super fund, which is full of property, and they're going to cash or they're going to shares. So
please don't say
super,
crypto. I don't get
combined
it.
with negative gearing changes, you're right, is actually going to reduce the housing stock, because people who can afford to buy them won't
That's right.
have
But,
them
so I don't think they will touch
rent.
negative gearing. Obviously, the super stuff is happening, but
I hope I'm wrong. It's just, when you see it all moving a certain way. But again, it's this thing where, Christy, again, very clever management of things, okay?
Yeah.
Which is, yes, they had that sort of barnstorming week where, everyone was doing their TikTok videos about HEX fine, right? But basically, 4/5 bugger all since May has happened in terms of the governance of the country.
Yeah.
A big idea, because a little bit like, when they start to turn the conversation in February towards what will or won't be in the budget, and then nothing happens until a budget comes out. It's a way of just stringing out weeks and weeks and weeks, and there's still another week before we actually get to what will be the week of this conversation.